Welcome everyone to this week's episode of Unrooted Summer Series, where we take you behind the scenes and give you a little bit of an all-access look at what makes Menlo Athletics run so smoothly. I'm Brian Brownfield. My guest for this week's episode is none other than the head athletic trainer at Menlo College, Ashley Vogds. Ashley, thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
You're very welcome. Let's start by getting to know you a little bit better. Now, you come from the very small town of Hartford, Wisconsin, and it has a population of just below 15,000 people. What's your favorite part of your hometown?
Well, I think now that I'm an adult and I no longer live there, I appreciate being able to, when I was a child, just be outside and not have to be supervised with it. Being able to go on our dirt bikes, be on go-karts, things like that. We had a really big yard, so playing out in the woods and things like that. So just being able to kind of be free as a young child, and that was probably one of my favorite memories from growing up in a small town like that, being able to bike to friends' houses and just have a good time with friends and not worry about the dangers of what might go on in the world.
Yeah. Now, you're always outside as a youngster. Are you always outside in the winter?
It depends. I do enjoy downhill skiing. There is a good little ski hill nearby the house, Little Switzerland, and so yeah, we would go skiing, make igloos, snowmen, things like that. And of course, we could get snow days in the winter, so that was always nice too, a pleasant surprise. Go back to bed for a little bit and then go play out in the snow later on. But of course, you're a little bit more limited as to what you could do in the winter versus in the summertime.
Of course. Now, Hartford is between Milwaukee and Green Bay, so it makes a lot of sense that you are a Green Bay Packers fan. Is the football scene really that intense over in that area?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my family's always been very in tune with what's going on with the Packers. I have some family members who have season tickets, and generally when a Packer game is on, the roads are even more quiet than they normally are. Traffic way less. People aren't shopping in the stores. Everyone's home watching the game, cooking up some brats, having a few beverages and things like that, and just enjoying the Packers and their success. And so that's been a fun part of growing up too, is growing up watching the Packers and seeing their success and just having family time or time with friends to watch them play.
Do you own a cheesehead?
I don't own a cheesehead. My brother has one. They're a little big and bulky for my liking. I just have a few like clothing apparels that I'll wear. Yeah, with Packers.
Yeah, stick with the hoodie. You're fine with just that.
Yeah.
Now, among your previous work, you've served on the medical staff for the 19th installment of the Maccabi Games in Jerusalem. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, that was an interesting experience. I think from a personal and professional experience, it was great. Personally, it was an area of the world that I never thought that I was going to get to see. And so traveling to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and doing some of the day trips that we got to do in between practices and competition was certainly an awesome experience to see that culture there and experience the food and the weather and just, day-to-day activities that kind of go on in the city. And then from a professional experience, it was great too, because we brought over our own doctor staff and of course other athletic trainers. And so we got to see some of the hoops that had to be jumped through in order to get, some medications for injuries or illnesses. And how to send our athletes that maybe did get injured to the hospital. You have to kind of learn to troubleshoot those certain situations, and that was a good experience. Even just setting up a remote athletic training room and a conference room for the athletes that we needed to service in a particular city was interesting. It's great to be able to think outside the box and kind of get creative with how you can do a certain treatment on an athlete. Ice isn't something that was readily available there, and that's something we utilize a lot here to help with pain and things like that. So even finding ice was a little bit difficult in Israel, but it forced me to use other skills that I had and think outside the box to give those athletes the treatment that they needed to get better.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about Menlo College here. This is going to be your 7th year here at Menlo College, starting as a GA, now as the head athletic trainer. And this is the first time, as a member of the Golden State Athletic Conference, that you have won the Athletic Trainer of the Year award. So congratulations for that. What does that award mean to you personally?
I was obviously very excited to receive it. I think that the staff that I work with on a day-to-day basis within our sports medicine department has contributed to my success in being able to receive that award from the GSAC. So of course I want to thank them because them working efficiently allows me to do other tasks that I may not normally be able to do. And then, of course, our administration here on campus, too, is very supportive of our department. And so without their support, we wouldn't be able to do some of the progressive work that we do within our sports medicine department. And so we need to thank our administrators here on campus as well as my personal staff that I work with on a day-to-day basis. So it kind of sets the bar for where we want to get to every time we take care of one of the issues that we're trying to solve. There's always something that we want to try and make better and improve that student-athlete experience for our athletes here at the college. So we're always, once something has been solved or fixed, we need to figure out what the next problem is so we can find a solution and again make that a better situation for our student-athletes here on campus.
Now, being this is the start of year number 7, what has kept you at Menlo College for so long?
I think it's probably the relationships. As you know, it's a small college, so we really get to know who our coaching staff is. We work with a lot of student athletes outside of our assigned sports, so to speak. So we really get to know the people that we're working with and take the time to develop our relationships. And so, of course, that makes it a little bit more fun. It gives you something to look forward to tomorrow, checking in with that person from the story that maybe they told you while you're doing some manual therapy. Hey, how did that turn out? Or, and give the opportunity to just really be able to speak with people, I think is something. And then also just the personal work-life balance that we have here at the college. Being able to have some outside free time away from work too is really big for me, so that when I come to work the next day, I'm refreshed and I can completely focus on what we're trying to accomplish for the day or what I'm trying to help that student athlete with.
What's the most rewarding aspect of your job?
For me personally, it's probably having a student athlete return to their sport completely after a surgical situation or maybe a really difficult situation where we've had to really work with that student athlete one-on-one and maybe overcome some obstacles. It's a cherry on top if the student athlete also receives, a postseason award for their accolades that they were able to develop during the course of their competitive season. So for me, that's probably one of the greater things. And then just being a leader within the sports medicine department to our graduate assistants and our new assistants that are coming onto staff, just being a mentor for them and showing them the ways of athletic training and also learning from them to improve my skills as well is something that I do really enjoy.
And you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but there is a very close bond between you and the rest of your athletic training staff. What's the typical day like for you all, and how are your paths always intertwining?
Mm-hmm. Well, working in athletics, you know that there's not really a typical day.
True.
We have to be prepared for any emergency that could happen throughout the course of the day. So maybe we have a very specific time schedule of what we want to do for that day, but something happens out on the field or the court and it could completely change the course of the day. So always keeping that in the back of our mind. We're not procrastinators, so we always try to plan as far out as we can so that we can fall back on different situations if we need to for timing purposes. But we all work together throughout the course of the day, whether it's like a shift change with an athletic trainer. Our office is we have a tight space for our office too, so we're always seeing each other in the office. and just really coordinating sometimes with coaching staffs too about a particular athlete that maybe I saw that's with another sports team again that I wouldn't normally work with. We're coordinating that with our coaching staff, our sports performance staff. So there's a lot of intertwining that goes on here at the campus because of everybody's crazy schedules. The students with their academic schedules, maybe they're involved in clubs on campus as well. So fitting their time schedule into when they can do rehab, maybe with me one day and someone else at another day. But we always have an athletic trainer overseeing the program, and maybe someone else is helping to execute that program.
Now, you mentioned the sports performance staff. It's a recently new addition here to Menlo College, a couple years old now. How do you and your staff work with the sports performance staff to create a more unique and dynamic experience for our student athletes?
Yeah, so working with sports performance, our number one goal with them is we're trying to keep our student athletes as strong as we can so their body doesn't have the opportunity to kind of shut down from no activity. So if you have a lower body injury, you're certainly doing upper body in the weight room. You're still going to be allowed to be around your teammates in the weight room, and that just kind of keeps everybody's positive vibes up and their willingness to want to, I think, get better quicker because they see their teammates working really hard. And also, from a surgical standpoint, again, I had mentioned if someone's having surgery, we want to still keep them involved with their team, but also we're speaking with the sports performance staff on how we can keep, again, them moving along in the right direction so their muscles don't get smaller and things like that. And if it's just core work, fine. But as they get further away from their injury date, they're working more with sports performance and less with us. And we have the confidence in our sports performance staff that they understand what that student athlete needs. Maybe it's after communicating with us, but some of the injuries are common throughout our athletic population here at the college, and so the sports performance staff realizes where we are in our progression to get them back, and so we don't need to communicate with them as much. Again, we have confidence in them that they understand what our protocol is for certain injuries, and they know when to ask us questions, and we know when to ask them questions as well, with coming up with exercises at times or how we can modify different exercises so that student athlete can stay, again, as involved as they can and stay successful and be ready to transition right back into their sport.
All right, Ashley, let's get into the final segment of the show called Brownie Bites. But first, we're about to make some history on this show. I have once before had actual Brownie Bites during Brownie Bites, but this time Ashley's brought in something a little extra special. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so today I brought in some venison sticks. They're from Wisconsin. And my brother actually shot this deer, and we had it processed at a local processing company nearby our house, so I wanted to share those with you today. And these are pepper jack venison sticks, and so I hope you enjoy one.
Absolutely.
And maybe while I'm answering your Brownie Bite questions, you can enjoy them.
I'm very much so looking forward to this. So are you ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, let's start with number one. Which coworker would most likely be shirtless at Lambeau Field?
I would have to say probably Michelle. She's always willing to have a good time, and she's an energetic, outgoing person, not very shy, so I think she would fit that bill very well.
So if she's, let's say, shirtless and she's spelling out the letters of Packers, which letter of the word Packers would she be, like in a chain?
Probably somewhere in the middle. I don't know the end. So a K or an S.
I can see being a K. You're being enthusiastic, energetic. Arms outstretched. It kind of maybe looks like a K. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly if you've ever caught a Packer game before, even in the blistering cold, you always see a couple of crazy people out there willing to be shirtless and just, again, having a good time.
How they're able to do that, I'm not quite sure. I don't have the guts to do it, that's for sure.
No.
Question number two, which coworker would have the worst Lambeau leap?
Sorry, Rob, I'm going to have to say Rob. I just don't know if he's got the spring in his step. Maybe in his younger years, he would bode well with that task, but I think right now Rob's my worst Lambeau leaper.
Do you think you could pull it off?
I don't know. I've taken a tour of Lambeau Field, and there's part of it where you get to go down onto the field and see how high the padding is there. And from TV, it doesn't look that bad. But once you're actually there, I think I would have to hoist my hands up and hope some of the fans would continue to pull me up that way, because that would probably be the only way I'd be able to get completely up there. And just getting up to the top of the wall there would be
That'd be a win for you.
Win.
And I imagine it is tougher with nobody there to support you. I mean, I imagine even some of the players would probably fall if they weren't being hoisted up by
some of the bigger guys with the bellies maybe would have a harder time. But
the John Coons of the world.
Yeah, but if you got a little spring in your step and running start, maybe it helps too. So
perhaps. And then question number 3, which coworker would be most afraid to jump into a freezing Lake Michigan?
That's an easy one for me. I would have to go with Kristen on that, just because she's from Hawaii. She's always been around warm water, warm temperature, and so just the shock of the cold and then the cold water itself, I think, would make her very hesitant to want to do that.
Have you done it?
No, I haven't. I've been in cold water before, but certainly not a traditional polar plunge where you're doing it in the winter time. So it's a popular fundraiser in Wisconsin. So it does happen, but no, I have never participated.
Putting the fun in fundraiser, but only fun for people watching, not actually doing.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to do that either.
No.
Well, Ashley, thank you for joining me on the show, and thank you for bringing in these wonderful
enjoy.
venison sticks. These are fantastic people. I wish Ashley could somehow give you some, but unfortunately you can't. So maybe you should just come down, say hi to Ashley. Maybe she'll hook you up.
Yeah, if you don't eat them all by then.
Oh boy, if I'm eating them all by then, we're going to be in trouble. All right, folks, that'll do it for this week's episode of Unrooted Summer Series. Stay tuned later in the week. We're going to be talking to the head sports performance director here at Menlo College. That is Victor Brankovich. He will kind of piggyback off some of the answers that Ashley Vogds just gave. So until then, we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.